Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds Podcast. I'm your co-host, Puma El Gato, the cat that hands you your matriarchy back. And to my right over here is the main man, and Susan Era, the man that makes the fat stacks. Together we form the dynamic duo that won't die, deadly ideas, rather than splice your content than your just only fans. Brother, what are we talking about this week?
You know, man, tonight we're going to talk about a topic that I see floating around social media every once in a while, depending on what's going on. A couple years back, it was like a big to-do based on a world event that was going on. So I thought that we should address it. The topic of a matriarchy. Now, I've heard a lot of times, women say, "Oh, if a woman was in charge, we wouldn't have as much war. If a woman was in charge, we'd have a phenomenal and great place to live," and all these stupid arguments. Listen. I'm not saying all women are bad rulers, but the ones that we're going to talk about tonight are definitely not the greatest, and in fact it'll show you why, in some cases women shouldn't lead. Again, this isn't a all women are bad spiel, this isn't a all women leaders are terrible, but we're going to talk about some leaders back in the day that are pretty bad. We're going to talk about some that are literally, around right now that, again, aren't that great. With that being said, my man, we did miss last week, but again, we had a couple different things that would come up, and we're going to go ahead and keep the show rolling, make sure that we get back on track. With that being said, do you want to take the first one, man? I'll let you take the first one.
Yes, I do. This is coming from Hungary back in I believe it was the 13th century. Her name was Lady Elizabeth Bathory. Now, bit of a short synopsis, she was basically born into nobility. She was basically married off into a very rich family. Husband, who was the king of Hungary at the time, basically went off to go fight the Ottomans, and basically he died, which left her in charge of the estate. Well, it happened. It's very much who's the dragon lady that married into the, you know what I'm talking about, right? Daenerys Targaryen. Pretty much similar to that story. She was basically sold off into this family, and she basically became rich because as a result her husband died and all that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So during this time, she actually ran something of basically a cotillion class in her estate, in which she would take a bunch of teenage girls, bring them into her house, basically show them the ways of nobility and etiquette. Now, the problem with that is that the teens that she would actually bring into her estate actually were eventually killed off by her orders. So they were basically victims were daughters of lower standing, sent to learn etiquette, which were around 10 to 14 years old, and they were basically tortured and killed. Now, the method of which, I'll spare you the gory ones. I'm just gonna spare you like the least gory one right here. So one of the torture methods that was happening to these girls at the time was that they had pins stuck under their fingernails. They were drizzled with honey and left outside for insects to basically pick off. And keep in mind, that's the least gory one that I can put on there. I don't want to put on the other ones up because I'm not gonna lie, they're kind of fucked up. But that's the least gory one. It was just being drizzled with honey and left to be eaten by insects.
Not just that, obviously, we gotta tone it down just a little bit because the YouTube censorship, but we'll keep it rolling. The one that I'm gonna talk about is Empress Wu Zetian of China. Now, this woman was particularly brutal for a number of different reasons. The number one that I'd say, of course, people do real bad unto their own people. They torture and all that good stuff. The reason I think this lady was particularly bad was because, first of all, she got her power in a little bit of a mysterious way. She was married to this gentleman, Emperor Yosong, and he happened to die, but she was the only one present when it happened to happen. A little bit weird there. All along the way, she killed, her daughter, who was in the line of succession. She exiled a couple of her sons. She exiled a couple of her people that could have potentially challenged her reign. She poisoned a lot of people. Definitely a brutal woman to the general masses in China, but particularly with their family, which I thought was kind of interesting. Again, clearly, she was an empress, but not really a great person. What's the next one you want to tackle, my man?
This is coming all the way from Castile. Her name was Isabella of Castile, Spain. Now, similar story to Lady Elizabeth Bathory when she was married into nobility while her husband went to go die from the war, leaving her with the estate. So she was basically in charge of Spain during this entire time that her husband was dead. Now, because of the sensitive nature of YouTube, I can't exactly say what the name of it was, but suffice to say, she was targeting a very specific group of people based on their religious standing. I can't say the word, but it stands with EC.
Okay.
You can do some investigation of what that means. But basically, she was targeting anybody that wasn't Christian, that were of Jewish faith, Muslim faith, mostly the Muslims. And about 100,000 Muslims were off as a result of her personal crusade. And this is during basically her entire ruling of Spain. So she basically made an entire campaign to basically off Muslims for like, she pretty much almost finished them off in Spain for like the longest time. So that was pretty intense. The fact that I saw that she was particularly targeting Muslims of all people. The Jews, yeah, they were also targeted, but they weren't the main target. But they were still kind of adding to the whole Jews being tortured throughout history sort of thing. It's very sad and kind of fucked up.
Yeah, man. I read a little bit about her and doing my research, and I'll be honest, I didn't find too many good things. But
yeah.
She wasn't one of my chosen final ones that I was going to read out myself, but she definitely should be on the list. Let me give you the next one, Queen Mary the First of England. Now, a lot of people are going to maybe throw this by the wayside a little bit and say, oh, it's back in the olden days, there was a lot of religious bigotry, so on and so forth. This woman took it upon herself in particular to burn at the stake hundreds and hundreds of Protestants. Now, again, a lot of people say, oh, if women were in charge, it'd be such a great, this and that. This woman was in charge. This woman was taking advantage of her position. And because these people didn't believe what she believed, they got burned at the stake, got tortured. There's a number of different things that I read, but the most brutal really seemed to be the burning at the stake. And again, it was done obviously for many people to see, the atrocity that was going on. And again, keep in mind, this is all at the hands of a wonderful woman who...
It's funny, the nursery Three Blind Mice, and that's actually based on her.
Oh, is it?
So the Three Blind Mice, it's like three blind mice went to go look for the cat that swallowed the rat. The cat in question is supposed to be Elizabeth, and the three blind mice were actually supposed to be, I think, three different faiths. It was Protestants, something, and two other religions. I forgot what they were, but I think it was Protestants, I want to say Jewish and Muslim. Basically, three different religions that weren't supposed to be in England at the time that Queen Mary was basically in the estate.
Okay, right on. Well, those are the older ones. Do you want to talk about the more newer one, my man? Because I know we had one that's currently around. Well,
around for about a month. Did you want to talk about that one?
Go ahead, I'll let you take it, my man.
So one of the ones that I actually saw was kind of crazy to see, and it was actually a couple years back. And she wasn't technically a ruler at the time, but she was basically interim. But a lot of people were still scared nonetheless. Well, at least army officials were scared nonetheless because of the implications of her being in the estate. But there were a lot of people who were saying, oh, why is it North Korea gets a female ruler before we do? And this is back in 2018 when Trump was still president. And the lady who I'm talking about in question is Kim Yosong, the sister of Kim Jong-un, in the time in which he had his coma and was unavailable to make his appearances at this time. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, Kim Yosong is not only is she Kim Jong-un's sister, but she's also the head of his propaganda and agitation division in their government. And basically what that is that she's actually in charge of propaganda, and she's also in charge of breeding Kim Jong-un's cult-like personality. Do you know those facts about like Kim Jong-un doesn't poop, doesn't pee, wakes up, or the sun only comes up when he decides to wake up? She was the one that started it. She was the one that started all of it.
And mind you, when the rumors of Kim potentially dying a little while back were going around, it was everyone was simping over this woman that is part of the torture of all these people. Again, mind you, she's a woman of power. She was likely to be the next, individual in power in North Korea. So it's kind of wild to me that people envision this utopia if a woman should be in charge. Again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's both great women leaders and great men leaders. There's both terrible women leaders and terrible men leaders. But this whole, if women were fucking in charge, that's what kind of bothers me.
So not only was it that at least U.S. Army officials were basically saying, they have theories that she's actually the one pulling the reins behind Kim Jong-un. They just don't, it's just not substantiated because they don't know how their government works over there. That's only how they theorize what's actually happening, giving given her remarks and given that should Kim Jong-un somehow pass over, that given the position that she's in, she's gonna have to be a little bit more ruthless, and quite frankly, they kind of see that being easy coming for her. Only because the remarks of her basically shit-talking South Korean government, like, pretty overtly, and basically blaming them for coronavirus, and even talking shit about us openly too, like pretty threateningly so. So this is what she said the first day that Joe Biden got inaugurated into office. What she said was, if the U.S. wants to sleep in peace for the coming 4 years, it had better refrain from causing a stink at its first step. And coming from a country that's been testing missiles every couple of years, that's pretty threatening. Imagine if somebody told you they came from the gun range and they're like, hey man, in case you don't want any problems with me, just watch your back.
Listen, you're making too much of a stink about what they're saying. I don't give a fuck about what they're saying. The point is, it's a woman leader who's saying this stuff. And again, it's the matter of this stupid ideology that if a woman leader is automatically put into play, everything's gonna be great. It's a stupid fucking ideology. I don't give a fuck about what the woman said. She's a piece of shit is the point. It does, and again, I say the same thing about Kim. He's a piece of shit too. So regardless of the facts, it's a matter of, it doesn't matter if it's a woman or a man. They're both pieces of shit. And that's the point that we're trying to get across with this video. It doesn't matter one way or the other. With that being said, I think that's a good place to wrap up, my man.
Yeah, I think so too.
With that being said, thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, hate, all that beautiful shit. DM me about the dumb shit that I said. I don't give a fuck, whatever. And with that being said,
until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you on the next one.